Defeat Putin.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
We came, we saw, he died.
We both agree that Assad needs to go.
You know, fuck the EU.
And yeah, we are live. So today we are going to talk about crazy stuff, holy wars. So without further ado, I will invite my friend and guest, Larry Johnson, the true son of the new American Revolution, which I forgot to put on the scene, but it's all right. How are you doing, Larry?
Good. Staying busy.
Yeah, seems like God is punishing you.
Yeah, well, it's not, I don't view it as punishment. I just wish the world wasn't being punished like it is.
Yeah. So, Larry, let's talk about something that I actually been thinking about talking with you since the first day we did the first show here in the channel. With this crazy, messianic things that we are seeing around, and back then we during our first talk you told me that you were raised in a Mormonic church family, so knowing a little bit,
Right.
and not so much. I know that the Mormons they study a lot of religion, and I'm not. I was raised in a usual Rio de Janeiro family, Catholic, and then we don't go to church because that's what we do. We go to the beach Sunday morning, and then we got a teenager, and Sunday morning is a great day for hangover, not church.
Right.
So I know little to nothing about religion. And even knowing little to nothing about religion, since all this started in Ukraine, and I started seeing a lot of small, I'm talking about Ukraine still, a lot of small signs that, we were facing some type of new crusades, new religious wars. And now we have, again, something in the Middle East, which is pushing so hard on that. Looking at Netanyahu talking messianic, it's crazy. So can you put some light in my head about that? Because I'm not understanding anything.
Yeah, so when we delve into the topic of man's relationship with God or with deity, and particularly within Christianity, and I lump Mormonism within Christianity, even though there'll be Christians who'll say the Mormons are, heretics and that they're not Christian, which illustrates part of the problem. People have when you get into the realm of religion, you enter the realm of belief. It is not based upon science. It is
Reason.
It's not based necessarily on reason. It is a deep held belief. And I'm not trying to suggest that it's not valid, but it becomes more emotional than rational. And when you go back into the 19th century, there were a number of movements that emerged around the 1830s, 1840s, and Mormonism was one of those. They were all predicated on the world is going to come to an end. The Mormon concept at the time, they're to go out and warn the world that the judgment of God was coming and the world was going to end and they needed to repent. And throughout the ages, Christians debated over the book of Revelation about its meaning and its the implications that this is telling about the end of time. And within Judaism as well, and within Islam, each of those great religions have belief about the end of time, the end of the world, the return of a Messiah, the return of the prophet, in the case of Islam. And so you then get this phenomena where people start acting in certain ways to try to help to bring that about. And it's sort of bizarre. Take a look at Israel as an example. The Haaretz, the Hasidic Jews, these ones with the dreadlocks and the long frock coats and the hat, they're always wearing a broad brim hat of some sort. They reject the current state of Israel as being valid because the state's only supposed to be set up when the Messiah returns. So they're sort of the anti-Zionist, if you will. You've got others that are like Smotrich and Ben Gvir. They're part of a settler group that follow this particular rabbi. I don't recall his name at the moment, but they genuinely believe that this is part of God's plan, and then God's going to bring about this judgment upon all the Gentiles and destroy them and leave the Jews in place. And so they're happily trying to create those conditions. So that's, this isn't, when we talk normal geopolitics and global interaction, you're talking about disputes over water, disputes over land, disputes over oil. Hitler wanted more Lebensraum, more living room for the German people, access to resources. We're dealing with something that doesn't fall in any of those categories here. This is what people believe about their relationship with God and God's relationship with history and what they're going to produce. So it's they genuinely believe, hey, there's going to be this massive battle and the nations of the world are going to line up, and Jesus is going to, the Christian view is Jesus will come and intervene. I mean, there are lots of different variations of the story. I'm trying to just do the broad brush here because I'm sure somebody listening goes, well, "That's not right. You got this wrong." I always remember, and this gets into concepts of life after death as well. Yes. And I remember as a young teenager sitting in a meeting of the men, the elders of the church, and they were debating about who is God going to save and who got. So within the Mormon religion, they've got sort of three levels of salvation after life after death. You've got they call it the glory of the stars, the glory of the moon, and the glory of the sun. Sun's the best. The celestial being down on the stars, that's the worst. And then there's hell. And they'd always sit around play. I called it the who goes where. Play this game about judging. Hey, I think Marcelo's not a very good guy, and I think he's going to wind up here. But if you come, so there's a lot of this. It's really, I view it as nonsense. But it is, just because I view it as nonsense doesn't mean there are a bunch of people out there that take it very, very seriously. And that's one of the dynamics at play here with what's going on in Israel and with the Palestinians, that there is this sort of undertow of religious fanaticism, both Christian, Muslim, and Jewish.
Yeah, when I started having this perception, so when the special military operation started happening in Ukraine, well, I started, I'm just next door from what's happening there. It's not too far away. No? The other day, I just mentioned in the comments in Twitter, someone was playing beach prices in Italy that are completely crazy. A chair in the beach for the entire day is like 40 euros. And
Yeah.
I was saying, you can go to Cyprus. I've been there last year, and I got a chair for 250 for the entire day. It's public. You pay a guy with a machine, a public machine, and someone said, Cyprus is too close to war zone. I said, dude, Ukraine's over there, and I started, searching what was going on. First, I watched the Netflix documentary or propaganda, whatever you can call it. Then a friend of mine, a Russian friend of mine, said, look, check this one from Oliver Stone. Check this guy. That's when I came to know the channel of Gonzalo Lira. And from that, I started knowing all the channels and all the people like yourself. And I was watching a documentary after that, just for fun. It's an Italian documentary called "The Girl from the Vatican." So it's about a girl that was born and living in the Vatican. It was a Vatican girl that disappeared. And so there is a lot of this church, involvement with mafia and, washing money and stuff like that. And this documentary at some point started mentioning the movement Solidarity in Poland before the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the attempt assassination of the Pope, where they bring this Turkish guy. There's always some Turkish guy doing some stupid stuff. There's this Turkish guy that they take out, and he said, Russia told me to do that. And then there is this prophecy of the girls from Portugal, of Nazareth, the prophecy of holy.
Yeah.
And the prophecy says, you have to convert the Russians into Catholics, not Orthodox anymore. So I'm paraphrasing here. It's not exactly that it says, but the idea is more or less that. And I was like, Jesus Christ, there's always Russia and religion connected to these major geopolitical events somehow. And Russia is always the bad guy that needs to be converted, needs to be destroyed, needs to be chopped in pieces. And now we have this situation in Israel. And in the beginning, the Middle East has been always a zone of tensions. But now we are seeing these messianic talks about this zone. So I want to understand, and it's very important. I was having a live with Lucas Leroy this weekend, and we were talking about Middle East dynamics, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Shia, Sunni. And then, as you were mentioning, you have the Orthodox Jews and you have the Zionists. How does these dynamics happen over there?
Well, when you get into this realm of religion, everybody believes they have truth, and that they've got the genuine insight. And so much of our, I think the way, at least in the United States, I'm not sure how it is in Europe, but I suspect it's the same. So much of what we're taught about history either minimizes, glosses over, or ignores the role of religion. So, when you go back and you look at the schism that separated the Catholic Church from the Eastern Orthodox Church, and that was an important moment in history, and it was tied up with the fall of Constantinople and transformation of Constantinople into Istanbul and the spread of Islam throughout the Middle East, and the attempt of Islam to take over Europe and the failure there. So, religion, in the people's concept of a relationship with deity, was very much a part of shaping history. And yet we sort of conveniently ignore it, pretend that it doesn't matter. The Catholics sort of take great pride in the fact that they are so much larger than the Eastern Orthodox Christians. But when you look at what the Catholic Church has become, it's so corrupt. It's filled with pedophiles. and it's we're not talking about two minor instances of sexual abuse of children by priests. We're talking about thousands, tens of thousands of priests that have done this around the world. And it's documented. And what the Vatican does is cover it up. That's one of the sort of, if you will, the critical differences between Eastern Orthodox Christians and the Catholics. You don't with the Eastern Orthodox movement are not normally out buggering over. And part of the reason there is that the priests are allowed to,
Yep.
They aren't formed to a that they don't really follow the Catholic Church anyway, in my view. But still, the Catholic Church is an enormously powerful institution, and the Pope, regardless of what anyone may think about him, is still viewed as they have a say in world affairs. And so Israel is now this battleground, and the Zionists insist that God gave this land to me. The movie Exodus with Paul Newman from was 61, 62. The song Exodus, this land, my land, God gave this land to me. Very. Once they got that in their mind, man, it doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to us. And again, ignoring history, which the original 12 tribes, again, these were tribes that took over what is now sort of Israel, Lebanon, Palestine. 10 of those tribes disappeared. Now, they weren't taken away by aliens, but they got folded into other cultures. And because there were constant invasions. So really this, and the promises that God made to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that according to both the Christian and Jewish Bible, well, if those promises don't just apply to people who today say, "Hey, I'm Jewish." Those promises apply to the descendants in theory, if you believe the book, if you take the book seriously. Those promises apply to those other people, and the odds are that a vast majority of the world may in fact be descendants from those people. That's one thing to consider. So that if you proceed from the idea that the promises that are listed in both the Hebrew scriptures and the Old Testament of the Bible to Abraham, be a father of many nations. Well, that wasn't just for Jews. That was a whole lot of other people. And so what we've got really is a situation that is a reenactment of the story of Cain and Abel, where we have brother killing brother. This murderous nature that is being promoted, the inhumanity that's being visited upon Palestinians right now by these Zionist crazies, where they insist that they have, because God does this land, we have the right to rape
and kill
and to kill
women and children and all that.
It's like, yeah, that's where you need to step back and say, you know what? If that's really your concept of God, you need to put that away. It's tough.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a God of war, this is not, this vindictive going to wipe everybody out God is, the old saying, it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and after a while, everyone's going to wind up blind and toothless.
Exactly. What's interesting is that, well, I haven't read the holy books, none of them. But from the later I know, it doesn't seem like a new thing. So everybody's even talking now. These guys are going Wrath Old Testament style, which is actually an old expression. These guys are going Old Testament on them. And well, when you think that, you start thinking, was this entire culture, and I'm going to call culture, okay, uh, based and raised and born on murderers and rapists mindset, or at some point this changed and you have just fanatics? Because there's one thing that we always discuss here is the fact that, well, Israel is it's a state made for and by fanatics. And of course we're always going to have nice people here and there, but at this point I'm starting to think, how much percentage of the people are nice people?
Well,
Oh, what?
well,
Did-
what
did I
we're, I think we're really
lost? Oh, yeah.
talking about
Okay.
is the extremists are a minority. The
Mhm.
average, I think your average person doesn't really, they'll listen to some of it, they'll go along with the crowd, but they aren't really out advocating for it. This phenomena, what happens when people start believing that a person or a group of people, usually it revolves around belief that a certain person is touched, anointed by God, has a special insight to relationship with God, speaks with God, can communicate his thoughts, can tell you what the divine wants. A prophet, somebody who's viewed as a prophet. And once you accept that this person has a very special relationship with God, and that your relationship with that person will allow you to have that same relationship with God, it becomes dangerous. Back when I was growing up, I had the brother of my classmates. He's an older guy. At the time, he was our basketball coach. Well, years later, found out he declared himself a prophet of God. And as a prophet of God, I mean, and it went to the point that he was saying that God allowed him to have multiple sexual relations with different women. That's what declared.
It's always
Use that
like
as,
that,
hey, God, hey, it's not me, it's God. God says you got to do this. But he got to the point that there was this one family. Their names were the Averys, and I knew them. They attended the church where I attended. It was a husband, wife, and 3 daughters, as I recall. This guy, his name was Jeffrey Lundgren. He had them murdered, and he got his followers to murder that family. And for what reason? That they had, and according to the prophet, he had fallen out of favor with God. It was, fortunately, he died in prison. He was convicted of, murder. But unfortunately, this is what you get from some of these people who are masquerading as holy men, holy women, is the people that have a special relationship with God. They use religion as a justification for controlling other people and stealing from other people, and it's just that's it's one of the big sort of, it's unspoken. That's on the nightly news when they're talking about the situation in the Middle East, they're not talking about what the different religious beliefs are, why you've got such a strong following of evangelical Christians who back what's happening in Israel because they believe it's the fulfillment of prophecy. Oh yeah, man, nuclear war, good. It means God's coming. And it sort of, the problem I have with the evangelical Christians on that is it's a very selfish, oh, God's going to rapture us. Hey, if you got the right relationship with God, they're get up into the sky and you're not going to suffer any of the pain and the death and the destruction. And it's like,
Who
if
told
that's the kind
you?
of God you want to believe in,
No, and who told you you
yeah.
have the right relation with God?
Yeah, well, they convince
Yeah.
themselves, and uh, you know it is. I can't emphasize enough that these are such deeply held beliefs that it's not just a matter of sitting somebody down and talking to them and they're going to change their mind. No. This goes very, very deep, very deep.
Since you touch upon the evangelicals or the neo-Pentecostal churches, that's one thing. As I told you, I was, born and raised in a Catholic country. Brazil was a Catholic country, and I saw during, 20, 30 years the rise of these evangelical churches. A strong race of them, a very strong race of them. And we just saw the other day the demonstrations pro Bolsonaro with a woman holding the flag of Israel, saying, well, Israel is our brothers because they are Christians like us. So it's just the
Huh?
you haven't seen this video?
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
gonna
little.
send you.
No, yeah, I haven't
I'm
seen
gonna
that.
send you. Yeah, that was basically what the woman said. And then we saw Bolsonaro entering the stage with embraced in the Israel flag, um, and to convert to a religion in general, you just have to want that, and I believe Judaism is more or less the same. So, and at the same time, the evangelicals have this really strong belief of the Jews as the promised people, the bright people. What's it called? The people chosen by God. Is this somehow connected? And I'm asking a kind of stupid question here, but I just want a better explanation of that.
No. There is within Judaism an element that believe that of course God has chosen us. We have a special relationship with God. Now, the problem I have with that is it's one thing if you view that hey, we have a special relationship with God, and because of that special relationship, we have a duty and obligation to heal the world, to make sure that the poor are fed, that the oppressed are freed. That so it's like if you genuinely believe that you have this special relationship with God and that God has selected you for what? To enrich yourselves, rape people, steal from other people, to oppress others, or are you supposed to be, within the both the Jewish and Christian tradition with the Old Testament, the prophecy by Isaiah talk about a city, and Ronald Reagan used the phrase, the city on a hill, a light, an emblem of hope, radiating out to the world, showing what you should be, a positive. And unfortunately, what we got going on right now is an enormous negative that these the Zionists, well, most of Israel is supporting the murder of Palestinian women, children, men, but it's overwhelming the number of civilians, and they don't give a shit. They could care less. No human, as far as they're concerned, what they're killing is like killing cockroaches and insects. They're not human and not deserving of any kind of humanity, which is it is that point that you have now, in my view, so transgressed and so separated yourself from that spiritual relationship you claim is so vital in your life, and that's maybe we are part of some big spiritual drama that's being played out with different religious perspectives. With the, with the Muslims, they divide in themselves, as you noted, into Sunni, Shia. At a minimum, that's just the start of it. You get to people like the Druze. The Druze won't let it. They only grow by having babies themselves. They don't allow any outsiders in. They're not set up to go out and convert people. They're a closed society, and their elements is primarily Islam, but they've got elements of Christianity and mysticism. But you go around all these different religious sects around the world, and some that are not just monotheistic.
Yep.
So it is these beliefs about where you fit in the world and where you fit within the cosmos, and what does life mean. Those are very profound and are at the heart of many of these conflicts.
Yeah, that's it. So we are about 15 minutes to go, since we have arranged the time today before I remember to ask beforehand. Let's go quickly about what's going on now. Now we are seeing a big escalation in the Middle East, and we were just I mean, everybody's talking about it. So I wanted to do this program all about the past, to understand how did we got from zero to here, but we have to talk about what is going on now in the Middle East. So we had these assassinations. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Israel is likely to use nuclear weapons in Lebanon and or Iran. I was not present at this discussion yesterday, but a friend of mine was. I know the people who were involved with the discussion. At least two of those people are in contact with senior Israeli officials. And we're not talking, some lower level person. We're talking very senior decision makers. They have convinced themselves that they must use nuclear weapons against destroy Hezbollah and to destroy Iran. They're going to do it. They are most likely, everyone right now waiting for Iran to retaliate for Israel's attack and murder of Ismail, the head of the Politburo in Hamas 2 weeks ago now, and they're waiting for Israel to do it, but waiting for Iran to do it. But Israel now has convinced itself it must launch a preemptive strike. It sounds crazy, but what was interesting is these and the people who were describing this, they're U.S. citizens, they're Jewish, they're Zionists, and they've convinced themselves that Israel can do this and will prevail, will win. I mean, it's craziness. So what we're dealing with right now is a level of insanity on the part of the Zionists. Iran, for its part, has actually been acting pretty rational. The first thing they did, they went before the UN Security Council and laid out a plea, said, hey, you've got this international rules-based order. This attack, this assassination that was done is a violation of that rule. So enforce the rules, but you don't. You constantly refuse to punish Israel for violating these laws. And so either you enforce the rules or we're going to act in our own defense according to Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. It's your call. That's what the Iranian ambassador to the UN said.
And the UN, of course, did nothing.
Nothing. So Now, Iran is reportedly trying to get a meeting of the Organization of Islamic States together to again get basically their endorsement. So it's trying to follow the law, and it's planning. While it's not planning a massive the attempt to try to destroy Israel, it's going to be, it'll be a bit tit for tat. They're going to try to kill some prominent Israeli politicians or military leaders. They're not going to see if they can cause mass civilian casualties. So the irony is Iran really is trying to retain the moral high ground in this. And it's Israel's claiming that they are the ones who are being violated when in fact, other than the United States, the only country in the world today that's bombed 4 other countries without reason, with just they come up with an excuse, but they've literally carried out military strikes for other countries, and they think it's okay, it's justified because we're Israel, we're special, just like the United States. Well, we're beacon democracy. That's why we can attack Syria and we can attack Iraq and we can attack Afghanistan and Somalia and run Panama and Grenada. And, we just go on and on and on.
Well, at least you won in Grenada.
We're out of control too. Yeah, sort of. It's ridiculous. So this is what's going on right now. They're in April, the last time that Iran carried.
Oops. I think I lost your sound. Okay. Yeah.
You still there?
Now I hear you. Yeah, back. Sorry.
Okay. Iran was convinced to pull its punches, to do basically a demonstration, which is what they did. But then it was touted by Israel and the West. Oh, we kicked that Iranian ass around. Boy, that showed them. Iran, they've gone back. The West has gone back to the same playbook this time, trying to convince Iran not to do it. Stay, keep your powder dry. Don't overreact. And what I'm going to say is crude, but it really, I think, expresses Iranian action. They basically told the West, "Go f yourself. We're tired. No, we're tired of your promises. We're tired of being bamboozled by you. We're going to defend ourselves. This has got to stop."
Yeah.
And Iran's consulting with China, consulting with Russia. Russia's providing. I don't know this firsthand, but based upon the fact that Iran has conducted joint military exercises with the Russians and Chinese over the last 5 years, the fact that they've reportedly signed a defense agreement of some sort, I would not be surprised to see that air defense systems, electronic warfare systems, and perhaps even some hypersonic missiles are being supplied to Iran, and that the Russians probably count saying, okay, you retaliate, make sure you focus it maybe upon one military base, take out that military base just to tell Israel. And then if Israel retaliates and comes back with something stronger, then you can use as more advanced systems. It could be something simple like that. But this is damn dangerous. And the chances that this could spin out of control are significant.
Yeah, I was, if I'm not mistaken, it was even you in Daniel Davis, or it was Alexander Mercury. So many people that I follow that I'm sometimes get confused, talking exactly about the loop back of information, and so
the feedback loop.
Yeah, the feedback loop. And so Iran did this strike some time ago. We even talk about it, the Ola missile, and
Yeah, yeah,
then they showed this. Oh yeah, it was a couple of missiles. We destroyed them all. All this, the same
yeah.
thing as Ukraine and all that. And they start not believing. They start believing themselves, because one say that and say, "Oh, we spin
Yes.
like that," and then they spin like that, and then comes back. Oh, see, look. They open the Times magazine and says, "Look, we are so good. Iran is it's a weak country, so we can go and do more." And at some point, as you mentioned, yes, Iran is probably has lost its patience. Now, it was interesting because, yes, you mentioned this preemptive strike, so Israel came out with this preemptive strike before the retaliation.
Yeah.
And just today, the Times of Israel published a news that Israel was convincing Iran that the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh was not a missile or a projectile; it was a bomb. We had some assets, so it sounded to me like chicken out. So they come out with this thing of preemptive strike, and now they say, yeah, we are trying to convince them we didn't do that bad, so perhaps they will not retaliate that bad, and perhaps we won't need this preemptive strike. Then I called you, and
Yeah.
you told me this nuke story, and it's confusing now to understand what's going on for real.
Yeah, no, it's Israel has not seen anybody. In fact, I think I think there's circumstantial evidence that they pre-coordinated with the United States what they were going to do, because that explains in part this massive movement of naval forces to the region.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't just start in reaction to the assassination of Haniyeh.
This was prepared.
It really, I think, yeah, it was prepared in advance.
It's not like you get your car, you turn the key, and you just go. You have to prepare all the operation of taking the ships, supplying the ships, all that. But
right.
I think you mentioned that this could be a mission to remove people. What was it called? To not save, rescue, like a rescue mission. Just since we have all these airline problems.
So yeah, no, some of the contingent of Marines that are on the WASP group, it's called, I believe. They are there specifically to conduct what they call a non-combatant evacuation operation, so that to take people off via ship if they can't get out via airplane. But all of that presupposes that there's going to be such a massive strike on Beirut and on Lebanon that there'll be a need to evacuate. So yeah, the United States has some idea what's coming, and it's not pretty. Hey, I'm going to have to jump here because
we have to jump out. Larry, thank you very much. So everybody, the links are on the description. Don't forget, follow Larry's work, follow our work, and see you next time. Take a break, man. Oh, and Larry's, if you want to watch more Larry, now he's going to Daniel Davis channels, right?
Yeah. All right.
Daniel. Follow more
deep
Larry
dive.
Then.
All right,
deep
man.
Dive. All right, man. See you next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.